The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to Entrepreneurs Ascending, where we believe in a better life through better business. Here, we help you aspire to greatness, achieve your goals, and ascend to new heights. Whether you're starting, scaling, or exiting, we're here to empower you with inspiring stories, enlightening discussions, and transformative resources to help you accelerate your success. Now, it's time for Entrepreneurs Ascending. All right, I think we've switched over. Awesome. Welcome to Entrepreneurs Ascending as we're kind of getting back into the swing of things of doing this this actual live show. Most of the episodes are live with you. And today I wanted to hit upon a pretty important topic, and that's employer branding. And I know it kind of maybe sounds like one of those things that you might roll your eyes about. A lot of people, whenever you talk about branding, thinking about large companies and big budgets, but that's not necessarily what we're talking about today. Even as a small company, maybe even more so as a small company who's fighting tooth and nail against the bigger companies to try to attract good people, it's maybe even more important that you really pay attention to your employer branding. Okay, and I'm going to give you just a little bit of an example, and this is a little bit of a larger company, Starbucks in the late 2000s. Now, of course, Starbucks wasn't quite the behemoth that is now, but they were running into, at that time, there was a global financial downturn, and there were a lot of closures and layoffs, and morale was low, and really their employer brand was suffering. But Howard Schultz, then he was, at that time, he was the CEO. He realized that really to revive the company, to bring some new life and energy into it, really needed to invest in the employees. You see, when you have, wait, have you ever gone to a drive-through, Starbucks or McDonald's or whatever, and you've got the hello, what would you like? This is one of the reasons why Chick-fil-A is so phenomenally loved. And their chicken's pretty good. It is, but people really love working with the people. That when they say my pleasure, it's so different than a lot of other places that you go that are like, no problem. Right? There's a more energy there. So that's one of the reasons. Of course, Howard Schultz, wasn't necessarily looking at Chick-fil-A, but he knew that things were kind of stagnant, right? So at that time, he looked at the core values and really the kind of culture that they wanted to build. And culture is not just, again, this art that you put up on the wall. See, culture is actually kind of these guidelines, these boundaries of how you operate within your business. The way that I try to explain culture and the importance of it is that it's like if your team is trying to go somewhere together and achieve this pinnacle of success up on this mountaintop. If we can kind of envision the flag on top of the mountain, that the pot of gold's up there, the rainbows coming in, and you're driving up there in that bus, right? Because you have to have all the right people on the right seats in the bus, right? You've heard that one before too, right? So you're driving up there, but the values are kind of like those guardrails that keep you on that straight and narrow path of getting to the top in the right ways without potentially like flying off of the edge of the mountain and tumbling and exploding. So that's values are far more important if you think about it that way. If you think about somebody maybe lying to a customer, and that leads to some bad reviews and some bad press, or just maybe some tension in between the sales team, the fulfillment team, or those kind of things. Those are really, really good examples of how important the values are. So as Howard Schultz was sitting here thinking, man, what do I need to do to revive the culture? He had to understand what that culture was, what the boundaries of proper behaviors were, and how to treat each other. And so he wanted to really figure out what truly mattered to the employees and the brand, and ultimately to the customers. And so they launched a program after they did this research, finding out that employees really cared about, like, where they were going. Like, a lot of people started off maybe and as these in these first time jobs, trying to figure out, like, where their next stage is in life. So they started this program, the Starbucks College Achievement Plan, and it was a partnership program with, I think, Arizona State University, and provided a full tuition for employees to complete their bachelor's degrees online. And it wasn't just about the education, it was about providing this opportunity, showing employees that the company believed in their futures. Because you see, an employee doesn't just work for you because they just love your vision. They might love that vision, but it's about where it's going to take them, right? It's about how it kind of aligns with their vision for their future and where they want to go. So this program said, hey, you know what? We understand that you work with us to try to build a future for yourself. And so we want to help you do that. There's a great book called The Dream Manager, and it's by Matthew Kelly. And I love the book because it's effectively about this janitorial company, and taking a little bit of a detour as we go up this mountain right on the story, but it's about this company is a janitorial company. I think it had something like a 400% turnover, and because somebody sat down with them, this position that they created for this called the Dream Manager, and asked, what do you want for your future? What are your goals? What do you want for your life, for your future, for your family, for your loved ones, for your friends, maybe for your community? Because somebody did that and then helped them build that plan, it basically created a company with 0% turnover. They were trying to figure out, how do we help people still achieve their goals, but in this environment where people don't want to leave. So very, very kind of similar to that, understanding where their employees wanted to go. And then the benefits were extended so that even for part-time employees, they were able to participate. They had health insurance and stock options, and they wanted to ensure that the well-being of the client, or the well-being of the employees, was forefront. And then they share these initiatives not only with the employees but the world. And this is something powerful wrapped up in all this, that the initiatives that you have for your employees that make them smile, that make them care if they get it right or they get it wrong, if they tell the customer the truth, if they provide 100% quality versus 75% of the time they get it right. If you share that you care, it's going to bring more top quality customers, more customers that are going to be loyal to you, like the loyal employees that you're building, right? You're building up, I should say. And they told this story in their recruitment advertising, on social media, public relations, websites. They wanted everybody to know they cared about their people. And of course, transformation like this, especially for a larger company kind of like Starbucks, it took some time, but they were able to reestablish themselves as an employer of choice. And it increased employee engagement, and really it brought in a lot more passionate and committed staff. And it really became Starbucks became more synonymous with the idea of a supportive work environment. And this real life story helps to illustrate the power that it can bring, that employer branding can bring, because everybody knows Starbucks now. They've been able to grow and on every corner right across America. So what are some things that you can do as a small business to still be able to fight against the big guys? And again, we're not about disparaging large companies. They definitely have their place and bring some amazing innovations to the market. Okay. But for the small medium-sized business owners, we know you don't have the same budgets necessarily, right? And so you have to be a little bit more scrappy, if you will. So let's kind of think a little bit about how we can make employer branding achievable for small business. Okay. So, first of all, let's think about branding as part of your marketing investments. There's 3 R's in marketing. Okay. There's revenue, which everybody knows about revenue, trying to bring in more leads and more sales, right? And then people kind of know about like uh, uh, getting company or employee or customers to return, right? We want return customers, but we also have to think about retaining employees. So, kind of retaining customers, retaining employees as well. And then there's the recruiting. Okay, that's the big R that escapes most people. I haven't really ever heard anybody else talking about it this way, but guess what? Recruiting should be in that marketing plan. And just like we said before, if I'm going to work somewhere, I want to see smiling faces, right? Or if I'm going to go and take my business somewhere, I want to see smiling faces. Whether that's at the drive-through window, whether that's when I walk into the retail store, even if I'm perusing, an online store, it's great to be able to see smiling faces of actual employees. It makes me really think that there's people on the other side of this transaction. They're going to care about me because they know that they're cared about and they care about their job. And so anything that we're putting out that actually is going to show people the reality of how great it is to work for you, it's going to attract the right kind of customers that care as well. Because there's an internal versus external reality. Okay, so the internal, oh well, let's say the external reality, right? That's kind of what everybody else knows and thinks about you and your company. The internal reality is what you think about, what your employees think about in terms of what your company is and what it's like and what the culture is. Now, you might think that it's fantastic. Everybody gets Fridays off. Everybody's got the best insurance policies. You're super supportive. People are able to spend time with their families. They're getting paid well. It might be the best place ever. Super flexible schedules, 6-month paternity and maternity leave. It might be the best place ever. But how would anybody know on the outside? It might be in some random job posting, but most job postings are not really thought about as job ads, which is another thing to kind of shift our minds around. But most job postings, it's kind of like a list of duties and the things that we require of you, as opposed to thinking, what value do I bring as an employer to them that's going to pull them in and make them want to read more, right? So, so we have to think about our external reality, just like in our actual branding, well, our customer centric branding, we'll say the normal branding that people understand. In the normal branding, again, you might have the best processes, the best systems, the best quality uh, supplies, or the best quality software, or maybe you use the best quality equipment. But how would anybody know if you're not communicating it out there? If you're not showing it on your website, on your social media, if you don't talk about it all the time whenever you're in that sales presentation, or maybe you are offering some sort of marketing piece download or comparison of your equipment versus the other equipment. It's just kind of that same way that you want to show the difference between others versus you and how great you are. We want to be able to do that for the employees. Okay, so we got to think about that internal versus external reality and think about that marketing. So that employer branding, let's kind of go through some steps that you might want to take to be able to create that in your business, or to be able to develop a stronger employer brand in your business, I should say. First step, who are you trying to hire? Who here has created a target market avatar? Anybody ever done that with one of with their marketing company? They might say, okay, picture the perfect customer. What do they look like? How many children do they have? What kind of house do they live in? What kind of magazines do they read? Well, think about that for the perfect employee. A lot of people, when I talk to like coaching clients and prospects and in workshops, I hear a lot of times that it's like, well, I just want somebody with common sense. Okay, well, that's not enough. Common sense kind of comes from this sense of a common background, right? And we just don't have as much of that, I think, these days. People come from very diverse backgrounds, so the idea of common sense is it's just not enough to identify the top quality employee, right? You got to think a little bit more deeply. Even think about the position that you want to hire for. For instance, a salesperson, you might consider maybe in the final stages of the recruiting, the application process, the interview process, you might have even like a personality test. For instance, like the DISC, we're a DISC provider, and we highly encourage using that as a part of your recruiting system, as well as your team and your leadership development system. But the DISC is the DISC. So you've got like these four main factors that breaks down a person's behaviors, kind of a component of their personality, into these four main areas, where there's dominance, there's influence, there's steadiness, and then there's compliance. And we'll go into all those another time. But somebody who's a salesperson might be a little bit more dominant, which means that they love the competition, they love the hunt, they love that part of the sales process. And high I might be somebody who likes to meet a lot of different people, and they just love to be that kind of influencer of other people. So a DI might make a great salesperson, where as an S, well, that person doesn't like as much change. They like steadiness. They like continuity. They don't like a lot of surprises. And then a C is somebody who's more compliant. So that means that they pay attention to the rules, and they like to follow the rules and make sure that everything is exactly the way it needs to be. They do the proper research. They cross all the T's and dot all the I's, and they might make a great engineer. So if you hire somebody who's got a high SC as a salesperson, well, they might struggle a little bit more. I've seen it work, but that's a whole conversation for another time. But if you want somebody who's going to jump in there and go get it, which is what I hear from a lot of small business owners, you might be looking for a DI. But thinking about what kind of personality does this person have? Do you want somebody who is more geared towards personal growth? So part of your interview process might be, what books are you reading? If you perhaps offer masterminds, which I love employee masterminds around a book, because it shows personal growth. So you might talk about that in your social media. You might even kind of feature some feedback from some of your employees from the most recent mastermind, and how that's helping them do their job better. But it shows that your company cares about their personal growth, about their education. And you put that on social media, and a potential applicant who uh, most applicants, I believe the statistics are about somewhere between 80 and 90% of applicants will look at your social media if they're serious about wanting to work for you. If they see a job posting and say, "Oh, that's interesting. You know what? I'm going to do a little bit more research." They're going to look at your social media. So it's a great place to put something like this. Plus, if I see a company that actually cares enough about their employees' future and their own personal growth that they're going to actually have these masterminds and display it on their social media, man, game over for me. Game over. So understand the type of person that's really best for this role and best for the company. And again, you want to have questions around your values, around what is honesty, what is integrity, what is uh, due diligence. If maybe you're maybe you're a company around like market research or something like that. Maybe that's one of your core values. So the next step is, what is your employer value proposition? You got to think about, what do you bring to the applicant? So we will probably go through some tough periods of adjusting to AI and automation and robotics, and so yeah, we might come to a period where we have um, more job openings or more people applying than job openings. But that's also not guaranteed, because we also have a lot of people who are retiring, a lot of baby boomers who are retiring, and we actually have a decline in in births. So we're not necessarily replacing the population quite the way that we once were. So there's not necessarily a guarantee for the future. If you're going to sit there and hold your breath, waiting for this mass exodus, and finally going to get people who are going to be finally interested, maybe some manual labor jobs or something like that may or may not happen. So you need to think, well, and you know what? Let me take one more step back too. If you have the kind of company where you think that the only value proposition that you bring is a paycheck, then you're going to get the kind of employees that only care about the paycheck. And that means that they're only going to do enough to not lose that paycheck, only going to do enough to not get fired, right? So if you actually want a high quality employee who cares more deeply about employee satisfaction, about them increasing their skills, about maybe one day becoming a leader, maybe about quality improvement and continuous improvement, well, they want to know that you are going to help them achieve those things, that you are going to invest in them, and part of your value proposition. Like we're talking about Starbucks, and they helped people get their bachelor's degrees, right? No matter where they were in life, they were going to have that hope of getting their bachelor's degrees. So, what is your value proposition? How are you going to help them achieve their own personal vision while they're helping you achieve your vision for your company and your future? And then we need to look at consistent messaging and brand alignment. How can you bring all this together? Sit down with your marketing team. We actually will do a free brand analysis for companies, looking at their employer brand as well as their marketing and their customer facing brand, right? So we'll actually sit down and just kind of look at all these things and how they're tied together, and see if they're really portraying the image that you're trying to portray, bringing together the external and the internal realities. So we want to make sure that there's that consistency. And how are you engaging and advocating for your employees? Shake off kind of the old school ways of thinking. That again, somebody's just going to come in for their paycheck. Not enough anymore. Okay, and you know what? That's not even the kind of organization that's that enjoyable to work for. I've seen that kind of organization. And why would you, like, your employees aren't really dedicated to you. They're not really loyal to you because they don't feel that loyalty from you. Like, that's just not fun. That's just not a fun place to be. And guess what? If that's your viewpoint, you've made it that way. So you need to work with somebody who's going to challenge you to think differently, because that's not that's just a tough road to go down. And the payoff is just, you're not going to scale your business that way. The only way that you can scale your business and hopefully be able to exit and sell it one day is by actually taking care taking care of your employees, so that you can trust them with the delegating, right? And the automating and all that stuff. So make sure that you have some of these key components in uh, in your overall employer branding. So um, if you haven't done it yet, go ahead and create a careers page and actually have that on your website, and think about what kind of imagery do you have on that. Again, it shows that you're trying to grow, even if you're not quite at that point of really like massive hiring. It still shows that you are thinking about, your employees and where you're going for your organization. And if you can put some wonderful things on there about some images of your employees kind of enjoying their job, and just kind of what people can expect, but also showcasing the benefits, showcasing your value proposition to employees, and how you help them grow, develop, and take their lives to the next level, just like you want to take your business to the next level, right? And maybe even throw in some employee satisfaction results. You might not do this initially because you might be working towards that, but if you are having some good results, and showing that you're getting better maybe over time, even if it's like a 85%, last quarter, but this quarter it's a 90%. That's really cool to show, because it shows that you're trying and that you're taking it somewhere, right? Create a little welcome video from the CEO saying, "Hey, we value you. We would love to have you work for us, and this is why." Maybe a little virtual office tour of what to expect, and just showcase employee success stories, and maybe even utilize employee generated content. You've got a blog, right? Well, many websites have blogs, but you can feature them and something that they're an expert at, and really prompt them up, put that on the social media. And don't be afraid of other people poaching your employees. If you're taking care of them, again, they're going to stay loyal to you. And if you lose them, then they probably weren't loyal in the first place. But guess what? You've built an awesome employer brand, and you're probably going to attract more great people who are probably even more loyal. Make the application process user friendly. We have partnered with a company called Career Plug, so we actually even have text messaging available for applications. So, we offer some specials for clients. So, feel free to reach out to us on something like that. But even as simple as being able to text message your application and text message throughout the process, again, just like with customers, with your employees, you need to learn how to kind of work with the media and things that they're familiar with. So these were kind of some of the big steps that you can take. I mean, well, actually, hopefully these are fairly small steps. I should say this, a big movement towards your overall employer branding, but with kind of similar simple steps that you can start taking to make it a lot more easier, make it a lot more effective, and hire more of the right kind of people that you want to hire. So hopefully you can come back and listen to this again. I know that I kind of threw a lot of great stuff out there, and we'll have future episodes where we'll dig into some of this, including the disc. If you're not familiar with the disc, you need to be, and we'll tell you why in the future. But thanks again for listening, and we hope to see you on future episodes of Entrepreneurs Ascending. Thank you for being with us today. But now is the time to put what we talked about into practice. Remember, your family, employees, and community are depending on you to rise up and win. The great news is you're not alone. You're part of a resurgence of entrepreneurs who are ready to take their business, life, and impact to the next level, and we're going to do it together. This show is powered by Time for Success, where we help business owners every day who want more freedom and wealth while building a legacy of positive impact. Please follow Time for Success on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube for more helpful strategies and tools for creating the business and life of your dreams.